So with that, Kathy, I'll turn to you in our virtual space here, and just wondering what resonates with you when we talk about administrative capability, and at your level in the president's cabinet, some indicators are going off, right?
Mhm.
What is it that you can add to context for us, understanding how in your role you perceive those indicators, what they mean?
Sure. Thanks, Jonathan. I think for me, when I've read the list, all very important things and all things that we need to be thinking about. But I will say this number four was the one that really jumped out at me, kind of in my role here and thinking about this from maybe a little bit of a different lens. I think this probably goes to the root cause, I would say, of a lot of the other risk or the other things that are on that list beyond just clearing and security risk. Unfortunately, we all find this, I think, in our roles and what we do, that, there's always meaningful conversations that occur after a report like this comes out, or after there's something that happens at your institution, when there's an incident, a crisis, a failure, whatever you want to say. There's always great conversations. And as I've always been taught, you never want to pass over a good crisis, because that's when action takes place and that's when things happen. So you don't want to wait too long after those things. But, I think for me, what I would like to talk about today is, how do we shift the conversation around a lot of these things from more reactive to proactive? And that sounds simple. And we all say, I know, we say this all the time, we're going to be more proactive than reactive. But in reality, the reality part is getting there sometimes is a little bit more challenging than what we'd like to admit sometimes. So I would say from my perspective in risk management, that, when I look at like the overall institutional risk, like from a high level, 50,000-foot level, and from a broad level, like institutional wide, there's just so many risks out there, particularly now. I think now more than ever. I'm just gonna say I've been at my institution 20 years. I have never seen it quite like it is now. I've never seen the multitude of risks that are hitting the institution, that are hitting really the top level of the institution and what they have to deal with, and they're in all the different categories of operational, financial, legal, compliance, strategic, reputational risk. They're all fall in one of those buckets. But, with the things like the funding cuts, enrollment concerns, the demographic cliff, the big, beautiful bill, so many other things that, administration is really having to juggle and manage. What I'm seeing is prioritizing which risks are critical. They're all important, but which are critical and which are time sensitive. And so finding a way to do that. I mean, we have, I'm a big proponent, as you know, of enterprise risk management, which is something that I think is so helpful in really helping upper administration to be able to look through the multitude of risks that are out there that are hitting them and that everybody needs resources for. And really finding a way then to help them identify which ones are more critical and time sensitive, making those more of a priority. So, it's an opportunity to have a different type of conversation with those at the C-suite level. And by approaching, I think, these things this way, it also helps them when it comes to allocating resources, which are all kind of are diminishing, I would say, in some
Right.
regards. So it's just a great way to help think about things in a different way, elevate the conversation to a higher level, getting administration's attention. Sometimes, like with Cleary, they all know what Cleary is. They don't know in the weeds, though, some of the things that are probably on this top 10 list.
Right.
But helping them is a key.